Dear participants, welcome to the 12th event of our Data Heroes show. Today, I'm very pleased to announce that we have Omri Kohl with us. My name is Gero Presser. I'm from Quinscape and very happy to guide you through our questions and the interview today. Omri is co-founder and CEO of Pyramid Analytics, a specialist for decision intelligence with very high momentum at the market, I would say. So quite obviously, the main focus of our talk today will be decision intelligence, and that it's potentially a revolution in how we use data to make decisions. So Omri, thank you very much for taking the time and talking to us. Would you please introduce yourself?
Absolutely. Thank you, Gero, for the opportunity and the invite to participate in this great platform. Much appreciated.
You're welcome.
So I'm in the data and AI is their connected space for over 2 decades, about 25 years. Pyramid is my 4th company. I'm what the market is usually called serial entrepreneur. Had sold my previous companies over the years. And as CEO and co-founder of Pyramid, I basically run the company's strategy, sales, marketing, and in charge of the vision moving forward.
Okay, thank you very much. That's very impressive. The 4th company, wow. And this company, Pyramid, stands for decision intelligence, and that's basically what we want to talk about today. However, I think that not everyone is quite aware of this term and this concept. So could you maybe start just with a short description of what decision intelligence actually is?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great question. So actually, it's a very simple methodology. It's based on actions and outcomes. So when we think about decision-making and the process of decision-making, regardless of data and everything around it, from technology to infrastructure, we want to take an action and we want to measure the outcome. One of the challenges that since the introduction of data and data decision and data decision-driven making for organizations is that it was always for individuals, right? Nobody really was able to look holistically across the board, from cross-function, cross-department, on all the areas that organizations needs to make decisions. And eventually we're left with silos of implementations that are very challenging in scaling our ability to make data-driven decisions. And the idea behind decision intelligence is that we take the actions we want to make, and every individual in every company eventually makes sometimes hundreds of decisions a day. You know, it could be very simple of what meetings should I attend, at which hour, with which people, and very complex on engineering and production lines and perfecting the outcomes. So decision intelligence as a platform is basically a technology approach to implement that philosophy of actions to outcomes and the ability to measure everything we're doing from a data perspective.
Oh, wow. That sounds great. Yeah. I think I got it, but now there's one additional point in, I think, your latest blog post or something like that. You are talking about the benefits of personalized decision intelligence. So we have, in addition, the concept of personalization. How does this work? What's personalization in decision intelligence, and what are the benefits?
Yeah, so, you know, when we're talking about an organization, we need to also remember that we have different personas in organizations. And obviously, we cannot cater to every individual in every department. You know, the bigger the organizations, you'll have more diversity. But I would say that it's appropriate to define anything from 7 to 9 different personas. They have different level of engagement with data. They have different level of decision making. Some of them will be much more in the weeds, very operational, very tactical. Some will be more strategic and dictating the roadmap and where the company is headed. And we need to make sure that we can personalize the approach of decision intelligence to each one of those personas. And we want to make sure that on the one hand, we provide enough depth and breadth of capabilities to make data-driven decisions without confusing the audience. So for example, if I look at myself as a CEO, I don't need to know every knob in every, let's say, machine that I have in my organization. I want to see a more holistic view. And for that, I don't need to build content. I don't need to define the way the processes are created. And I would need a more personalized, targeted approach of decision making through data with a platform that is relevant for my skill sets. The opposite would be if I'm a data scientist in the organization and I want to work from the same platform that the company has provided me with. I want to make sure that I have access to all the, deep analytics capabilities. If I want to write new algorithms, if I want to drive the way our AI is being trained and in a way educated to support our decision making, I need to have a very different approach. So I think going back to the beginning of what I was trying to say, that we think about an organization as a wholesome experience, we also really need to appreciate the fact that there is diversity between the decision makers and making sure that we cater to each one of them.
Okay. That's nice. Nice to understand this holistic approach. Yeah. And then personalization definitely makes sense. However, as far as I understand it, with pyramid analytics, you really bring in a completely new platform to the market and to each customer, each company, each enterprise. Do you really think that this is necessary? I mean, I think the space is really crowded. There is plenty of data and analytics platforms, and probably each enterprise already has quite a lot of such platforms. So is it necessary to really have a new platform?
Yes, it's a great question. So when you think about maybe the last 3 decades where data is really big part of the way organizations are trying to gain competitive advantage, to continue to grow, to improve on all kinds of areas of the business, you see those tools not necessarily changing to the underlying infrastructure that they have. We capture way more data, right? We used to talk about big data. It's probably now humongous data. The move of data assets from data warehouses to data lakes to lake houses, from on-premise to cloud, from cloud to multi-cloud or hybrid. And this means that eventually our data infrastructure is running at scale. When we think about decision intelligence for everybody, we want to make sure that we touch 3 major things. Any data, so regardless of location, size, complexity, structured, unstructured, internal, external, we want to make sure that from a single platform, you can natively directly connect to your data estate. The second one is any person, right? We talked about the different personas. So we want to make sure that everybody in the organization can benefit from the fact that the company has invested in those data assets. And the third part is any analytics needs. And again, this is a very, very, I would say, exploding area where companies are trying to do more and more complex things around analytics. We are looking at very, very complex data estates and data assets. And in order to do that, you need to provide a platform that can actually capture those 3 aspects in what we call, or the data space calls, the 3 V's, right? Volume, velocity, and variety. So when you think about all that enormous data, huge amount of people, and high demand for complex analytics, you need to figure out a way to scale that experience. And that's where we come into play. Obviously, Pyramid is not for every company and it's not for every need, but when it becomes big and complex and some degree messy, you want to implement a platform that you can immediately go to market, right? So time to market is critical. You want to have almost a plug and play solution. You don't want too much mess around the implementation part. The second one is that you want a measurable return on investment. You actually want to be able to know, using a data platform, how is that improved some of the areas that I'm measuring? Has it improved, my efficiency, my ability to support my customers, to build my products, to cater my products, to cater my customers? If you have a holistic approach to your data structure, then measuring the ROI becomes much more achievable. I'll give you maybe one example of an ROI because I think it kind of resonates. So one of our customers in the US, it's a very well-known organization, Dell, they decided to embark on a process to eliminate the use of siloed Excel, not stop using Excel, but making Excel as a database. They're sitting on 6 petabytes of Excel, and every petabyte that they upload to Pyramid, they save about $4 million a year. Why? Maintenance, people, mistakes that are happening when you don't have an enterprise-grade deployment, etc. And those numbers comes from them. We didn't measure it for them, but what we're trying to do is prove the value at the get-go to our customers so they can appreciate the fact that, okay, I implemented a new solution in a crowded market, as you said, but I can measure the return on investment pretty easily.
Okay, that's in fact a huge difference, I think, when you start with the ROI and with the end product, the better decisions that you can really measure in with respect to the impact. That's quite impressive. However, I think BI was also somehow meant in order to allow people to make better decisions, to transport data and information in order to enable people. Sometimes it works in practice, sometimes not, but probably every organization has some BI tools. How do you compare decision intelligence to BI, to traditional BI? Is it a revolution or is it kind of an evolution? What do you think?
So first of all, I think that BI as an industry has done amazing things to organizations, right? For the last few decades, some would argue it started back in 1980, when people started to analyze and visualize their data. And over the decades, what it did, it mostly educated people to run their business through the lens of data. So I think that the fact that BI and business intelligence is in hands of users for so long, that means that there is a huge maturity with organizations to capitalize and leverage the massive investment on the data and visualize it. It is an iterative process. I don't think that decision intelligence is a revolution. It's definitely an evolution. It's the next phase of how to take the educated people around use of data, the massive amounts of data that we are now with the new data lakes and lake houses and more efficient way to restore data and put it in the hands of users. There is a huge demand for that. So the infrastructure definitely changed, and that helped pushing, let's call them front-end tools to put in the hands of more and more people. So I think it is an evolution. I believe that decision intelligence is the next phase of business analytics. And maybe to put it in a little bit more, I would say, professional jargon that we are in. So BI is mostly descriptive analytics, right? It tells me what happened. It looks at the past, visualize it for me, and tell me, okay, your sales went up, your products are selling like crazy, you should continue to do so. So that's the first layer. The second layer is predictive. What should I do? So based on your historical data, what should I do next in order to even grow faster, smarter, better into maybe new regions, new territories, additional products? On top of that, we have prescriptive analytics, right? So basically, can a platform prescribe to me what should I do? So it's not just what can I do and can I maybe change pricing of a product to sell more, but actually tell me what should I do in order to get to the point where I want to get to. So I think that when you think about decision intelligence, it's the encapsulation of those three layers in the analytics approach that is accessible for everybody. So from descriptive to predictive to prescriptive, I believe that that's what decision intelligence evolution should bring to the market.
Okay, thank you. I think I get a picture of this evolution. I like actually that you talked about educated users, because this really fits with the next question that I had in mind. I think the technology dimension is very important, but making better decisions is also about organization and especially about people. So you're delivering a software platform. Nevertheless, it's important who makes what decisions, why, how is how political is a company, what is the culture, how well educated are the people. What do you think is more important for good decisions? Is it technology? Is it the organizations? Is it about people?
I love this question, and I'll tell you why. Because as a technology vendor, it's very maybe sometimes easy to forget that eventually people are using the software. And without the support of data literacy to people, there's no point in selling any software, because eventually people will not use it. And we've been in this industry long enough to know that sometimes you can buy the most sophisticated, expensive software, but people will not use it for various reasons. And I think that data literacy is probably the most important part for organizations before they even embark on a data-driven initiatives. And there are few ways to think about what data literacy means, but we as people, we take intuitive decisions, right? We have a gut feeling, we have experience, we read something somewhere and we think that that's the golden rule on how to operate our organizations. And maybe a quick example, we all drive using a GPS systems, and it's very often that we say, well, but I know the other road is probably quicker, faster, and you hit a traffic jam. You didn't trust the system. Why? Because you leaned on your experience, on your gut feeling. And I think what we need to try and make sure when we embark on such a strategy of making the organization data-driven is that it's been adopted by the people in the organizations. And there are two ways to do it. One, lead by example. If you, as a leader in the organization, decided that data is the way to start making decisions, that data is your North Star, you need to make sure that for every decision that you or your peers or your colleagues or the people that reports to you come with an evidence. Someone once said that a decision without data is only an opinion. And I would definitely support that. I would say that leaders in organizations, in any function, in any ranking in the organization, if they want to make sure that their organizations becomes data-driven, they need to lead by example. But even that is not enough. You actually want a buy-in, bottoms up. You want to make sure that everybody in the organization actually have access to data. That means transparency. So that means access to all kinds of data that maybe sometimes organizations are reluctant to share. So that's also a mental change for people and eventually for companies to be able to be very transparent, very open, very clear in how they want to adopt data. And obviously, there's governance. And if you're in a regulated organization like banking or insurance, data cannot go to everybody anywhere, anyway. But there are definitely parts of it that should be probably equipping people to make better decisions. So it is a culture. Data is, or adopting data as a North Star is a culture.
Okay, great to hear this perspective from a technology when actually I fully agree. That's definitely the same experience that we make on a daily basis, I would say. Um, I want to address a different topic. You mentioned people driving via GPS and maybe having some gut feeling and taking a different route. When using a GPS to drive, I think it's like behaving data informed. So you got information, you got recommendations, but you're still the human making the final decisions what route you drive. However, ultimately, probably we will have autonomous driving cars, self-driving cars. There, it's no longer possible to have this gut feeling because the car drives by itself. So the same question for me comes to decision making. As far as I understand the pyramid platform, it helps people to make better decisions. However, will it someday be possible that those decisions will no longer be made by human beings? Will it be the decision itself being made by the machine, maybe? Or do you see that's more or less a gradual thing? What do you think is the long-term perspective in this industry?
Yeah, I think first of all that even today, Pyramid provides some autonomous capabilities on decision making. And it's not an apocalyptic approach. People shouldn't think that I'm suggesting that everybody should go sit in a bar and get a universal income and machines will run the world. We're not there. We're definitely very, very far from that. However, what Pyramid is trying to do is free humans from maybe what is called the mundane, labor-intense work. Even if you think about factories, right? In cheap manufacturing organization, in the production floor, you won't see people. You will only see robots that produce the product, that even do the quality assurance themselves, and humans are not interfering. So there's lots of benefits to allowing the system to take the data that actually was based on how we made decisions and already made the action and count for the outcome as well. So there are lots of ways where eventually what we call AI, but we have lots of algorithms that can provide the automated approach to some decision makings. It could be as simple as an example. It could be as simple as alerts, right? Your marketing funnel is dropping. We decided to increase the spend on some AdWords by 5% to make sure that you reach back to your pipeline creation place. That's an autonomous decision. Historically, we had to sit on spreadsheets and read it and decide and act on it. The gap in time to market could have cost a tremendous amount of money. So those are maybe simple decisions. We decided when the algorithms can kick in. So at a reduction of 5% of the pipeline creation, you're allowed to increase the spend, and there is a limit to that of, let's say, 20% on top of the existing budget. So that's an example of how a decision intelligence platform using AI can continue to take decisions even in your absence. You're in meetings, you're drowning in emails, you're running all over the place. There are lots of things that can be done automatically by the system that would free us as humans to use our creativity, to invest the time in building strategy versus those more labor-intense monitoring jobs. So again, to summarize it, I think that there are lots of ways to take advantage of the fact that today we know even how to provide prescriptive analytics to a degree where an AI algorithm can actually take place and allow us to be more productive.
Okay, Thank you for especially the very illustrative example. I think this makes it really crystal clear that it's not really magical what kind of decisions will be done via automated systems, but that it really helps humans, and it's more like an assistance. Talking about examples, I think you mentioned this Dell example. It was quite interesting, getting rid of Excel. However, do you have some other examples of customers that really use pyramid or decision intelligence in order to make better decisions?
Absolutely. So I'll give you a couple examples. One of them is the Veteran Affairs. It's a U.S. federal healthcare organization. Think about them like a huge HMO, and they cater or they serve veterans of the United States Army. They have about 30 million subscribers, right? 30 million people that they support, from hospitals to doctors, nurses, clinics, down to all kinds of healthcare insurance products. One of the hardest things in insurance, specifically in healthcare, is to come up with what is the right premium that you need to pay for your insurance. Why it's a problem? Because eventually I have my own health profile that is very different to my wife, that is very different to my friends, that is very different to my colleagues. And each one of us eventually should have a very different price to my healthcare policy. And the way we support the VA, because we're a wholesome experience and because we sit on all of their HIPAA compliant, basically regulated data, we can help them come up with what is called per member per month. How much am I supposed to pay every month for my insurance policy? Historically, before we had a massive platform that can give you a very precise idea of what the price should be, we used to look at margins. So if I paid $70 a month or $75 a month, you kind of lived through that margin. But it could be that the difference between 70 to 75 is losing or getting to a break-even point on my premium, right? So if I was able to tell the VA that Omri Kohl should pay 73.20 cents a month, and that would mean that I will be able to cover for my risk, that's a huge benefit for a company like the VA. And that's something that, again, back to what I said at the beginning, any data, any analytics requirements across the board is the only way you can actually manufacture such a precise outcome for the action that is eventually the cost of my health insurance. So that's one area that I think it's very interesting. Second maybe example that I wanted to give you, and this is something that I feel super proud of. We have a customer in the UK. It's called Liberty. It's like a huge wholesale retailer in the center of London, very well-known brand. And I was in London few months ago, and I went into the store. You know, I told them, listen, I work for this company. Maybe you heard about it. It's Pyramid Analytics. Can I talk to someone who actually uses the system? And kindly enough, the store manager walked me to one of his department managers. And he told him, listen, this guy works for a company, Pyramid Analytics. I believe you're a user. The guy pulls up his mobile phone. He pulls up a real-time dashboard. And basically what he told me is Pyramid changed my life as a department manager. And my jaw dropped. I said, wow, it's like, you know what? It's a career moment for me. So first of all, thank you for sharing. But why is that? And he said, you know, I have 27 sellers on my floor. I have inventory. I have traffic to the store. I have peak hours where I sell more. And all of that is on my mobile phone. And it tells me exactly in real time how busy my salespeople on the floor are, how was my traffic, how is my sales performing by the minute? Do I have enough inventory to support the peak hours that now I know what they are? It was Wednesday afternoon. For some reason, I don't know why, but people come more often to the store on a Wednesday afternoon, et cetera, et cetera. And I think that his ability to manage his department on the floor from his mobile phone in real time, from, again, actions to outcomes. He could have increased the inventory. He could have hired more salespeople. He could have changed the shifts between the people based on the peak time, and so on and so forth. He didn't need, a group of analysts in the background to actually build it for him. It was created by a decision intelligence platform. Some of it is AI driven, so he got alerts and offers to how to better manage the ROI of his own department.
Wow. Thank you very much for this. Especially the second example was very impressive to see how it really changes the life of someone. And thank you.
I told him it changed my life. After saying something like that, it's like, you know what? We've done at least something to one person. That's unbelievable for me.
Yeah, that's great. So basically we can now, I think, or have to come to the last question. And I think in our Data Heroes, the last question is always about the future, the near future, the far future, however you want to answer. What do you expect for the future of decision intelligence? What do you think are trends, developments, and what role will Pyramid play in this?
So unfortunately, I don't have a crystal ball, so I'm not so sure I can predict the future. But I think that data, and we're in this industry for enough time to see how data become from a nice to have, people used to have it, but not necessarily use it all the time, to a must have mission critical application. I think today it's evident that the more successful companies in the world, the bigger companies in the world, the more advanced and innovative companies in the world rely on data to build their business. And I believe that eventually that's going to be, people talk about data as the new gold or the new oil that you need to harvest and use it as a gold mine. I think that data, first of all, the need for data and the usage and utilization of data is going to grow. It's going to go into every function, into every department in organizations, even the ones that we feel today that maybe are not so dependent on data. It's going to be super data driven. So that's generally about the industry. I believe that data is the fastest, strongest growing part of technology. I think as for decision intelligence, my expectation is that people, as they become more data literate and educated about data, they will feel more comfortable for decision intelligence platform to take over at least the basic decisions. And we already see that trend. I think, not talking about autonomous companies, but definitely about autonomous decision-making and trusting the system to help me make the right decision and maybe eventually for the platform to take the decision for me. So I think, we're now in an era where we call it augmented analytics. We basically augment people with data. And I think that moving forward, we will see people and companies let go of this augmentation and give more freedom to the platform, the technology, the AI, to help us do the more strategic job and take over the more labor-intense work.
Okay, thank you very much, Omri, for these insights. I think we all learned quite a lot today about the possibilities of decision intelligence. And at this point, I would like to mention that we as Quinscape are partnering with Pyramid Analytics in the German market and help our customers implement decision intelligence. Many thanks to all participants today. Thanks for taking the time. Hope to see you again next time. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you, Gero. Much appreciated. For the audience, make smart decisions, and thank you for having me.
Thanks.